Welcome back, everybody. This is the After Hours movie podcast with the AV Media crew. I'm Bramman.
I'm Riley.
I'm Justin.
And this is a very special episode because this is the first time we've ever had a guest. Please introduce yourself.
I am Amber.
All right.
And
who are you?
I'm Riley's friend.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm visiting from Kelowna.
I roped her into this.
For the holiday season. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, this will be out a couple days late. Anyway, we watched a movie. So I picked the movie this time, and I picked movies that I've seen that I thought would be fun to talk about. And there were two choices. One is No One Will Save You, which is a fantastic movie. Go and watch it if you haven't seen it. But also another movie that I wanted to watch last time, Mandy, with Nicolas Cage, and directed by Panos Cosmatos. And that's a sick name, by the way.
That's
That's an awesome name.
actually.
Definitely.
That's the one we ended up watching. I watched it like last week, and then I was like, we need to watch this movie and talk about it.
You watched it last week.
I watched it like last week, yeah.
That's the first time you watched it.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so this movie is
Jeez.
insane. Like I don't think anyone would disagree that it is like, it is like one of the weirdest movies I've ever seen. If not the weirdest movie I've ever seen. But also like has some like fantastic cinematography in it. Anyway, brief synopsis. Nicolas Cage and his wife Mandy live in the woods nice and peacefully. And then a weird cult leader sees Mandy and is like, I want her. And then he summons a bunch of demons to come and like kidnap her. And then she doesn't join the cult, so he kills her. And then Nicolas Cage goes on a revenge quest to avenge his wife.
Is that in the synopsis?
That's the synopsis that came up in my head.
Spoiler warning.
Yeah, well, yeah, obviously spoiler warning. We're talking about the movie. Go watch it if you
Watch
haven't
it
seen
first.
it. Watch it. This is a movie that like I would say you have to watch at some point in your life. It's fucked up. It's weird, but I loved it. Just as my first thought. So what's everyone's opening thoughts about the movie?
This was a very creative movie. One of the most creative films I've seen in a very, very long time. That's my intro to my thoughts on the movie. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Podcast over. Just kidding.
I thought Videodrome was really weird when we watched it, but this one definitely takes the cake as being one of our weirdest movies we've ever watched on this podcast, I'd say. It did things that I didn't think they would do, and then part of me was like hoping they wouldn't, and they did. So just be forewarned for many moments of just pure weirdness, grossness,
and uncomfortableness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amber, what did you think?
This was unexpected.
What were you expecting?
This was the craziest movie I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yep.
Hands down. It gave me a lot of, I was telling Riley and Bramman, some very big midsummer vibes.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So there was times where felt like I was on drugs watching this movie. But
So the way I heard about this movie was a friend of mine was talking to me and he was like, oh, I had never done shrooms before. And I watched Mandy and I was like, oh, this must be what shrooms is like. And then he took shrooms and he was like, wow, this is what Mandy was like.
Yeah.
So that's how he introduced me to this movie. And then I've been wanting to watch it ever since.
And do mushrooms?
No, I think I got the picture now after watching this movie.
You're like, I never need to do drugs.
Yeah, now I know what drugs
Experience it
are
all.
like. I'm okay, thanks. Melt your face
But you
off.
loved it though.
I loved the movie.
Uh-oh. Careful, everybody.
We're going. This is like a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
This movie's like the
Mandy's
gateway
the-
drug to doing so many other drugs.
That's hilarious.
what can we find next?
Yeah,
It's
what-
going to be a heroin movie.
Heroin movie? Oh, Lord.
Yeah. This was a very creative movie, and yeah, if you haven't done drugs before and you want to like get a little taste, yeah, watch this movie. It definitely opens up your eyes just a little bit, and get to experience some things you haven't experienced before. I've watched a lot of movies. I've watched a lot of weird ones, but let me tell you, this one, it's up there. It is up there for sure. I definitely highly recommend it for those that are into the more indie experimental filmmaking sort of side of movies. So yeah.
Yeah. definitely. I mean, it was interesting too because there were like obvious choices made for the edit, but there were a couple faulty things seen throughout the movie as well. So there was like almost kind of did have a bit of a student film-esque feel to it. But it did still have like really cool shots, and the story itself I would say is sort of simple. It's a kind of, in a way, the classic revenge story, like someone who needs to avenge their lost loved one. Like, you know, this is like a drug version of John Wick, almost a drugged up version of John Wick.
Yep.
Plus cult.
Yeah. It set itself up like it painted itself a really, really big picture, but really the concept and the meaning behind the image was pretty simple. Yeah, it's a revenge story. But however, the first half, it didn't seem that way. It really felt like something a little bit more complex and complicated. But then the second half, honestly, the first half, second half, they felt like two completely different movies. It was super trippy and spiritual in the beginning, and then the second half was kind of like, all right, this is going to be hard rock, metal, things, crazy shit's going to be happening. And yeah, it was pretty metal.
And it's crazy because the divider between those halves was the title card.
That's right.
The Mandy?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What were those? There was all those different. It's almost like chapters of a book.
Yeah.
Like
So,
what
yeah.
was that?
The Crystal Mountain was the first one, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think it was supposed to be like chapters. That's
Is
my
there a book?
interpretation of it. Well, so the movie confuses me even after the second time watching it, because she's reading a book, and like Mandy, the character in the first half, is reading a book, and like it almost seems like that is of significance, but even the second time watching, I'm like, I don't get the connection
Between the book.
between the book and like the rest of the movie. Yeah.
There must be some form of a connection.
I'm sure there is, but I'm just like, I'm too, like, maybe I was just too mesmerized by the visuals, because like personally, even though like you mentioned, there was like almost mistakes in like the filmmaking, like there's lots of grain at times, like really obtuse lens flares or crazy lens flares. I really liked the visuals, and I thought they were like so just something we've never seen before, that it just drew me in almost every time. And there were a few sequences that was like, oh my, like this is so trippy and weird, and I wish more movies would do something like this instead of just like basic cinematography. I mean, not basic cinematography, but like over wide, you know,
Things we've
normal
seen
lighting,
before.
and like this movie, something I really admire is it broke continuity, right? Like it would be like just a normal lit shot, and then it's like, I have the horn of Agathun or whatever, and then all of a sudden it just shows it in his hand. It's like this green flashing light on it, and then cuts back to normal lighting. And it's like, it just showed like significance on certain things, and even the use of red light was just like, it would go from normal lighting to just red everything, and I loved that. I thought it was really cool.
I think the first glimpse that we get of that sort of lighting technique was when they were in bed together and they were talking about what their favorite planet was. It was like a regularly dark room, but then when they started talking about their favorite planet, then you saw these lights coming in. No rhyme or reason would you think where are these lights coming from. It was a creative choice, and that's what really this movie was a lot of unique creative decisions that honestly I haven't really seen before.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
It was new, it was fresh, and it was just a really clever creative choice, and I was all about it. Yeah, I loved it a lot.
Yeah. I also like the transitions. It was almost like, I think almost every transition faded out, kind of what you were saying, Brandon, from different, there's all these different lights going on, like a red tinge and then a blue tinge and like a green tinge. And then all of a sudden it would like go from one character to like the next character and then just like slowly fade. And I don't know, I just haven't really noticed that before in movies.
Movies don't use a lot of fades. Usually a fade is like to signify like a transition of time, but this was just like,
It did sometimes.
sometimes, but other times it was just like from inside to outside fade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a slow psychedelic transition.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it worked.
It was like the overlay fade, you
Yeah.
know, whereas like the
Yeah.
person would fade to another color and then it'd go into black or
Yeah.
into like trees or whatever.
There were a lot of interesting sequences in
Yeah.
this movie.
And a lot of one takes, long shots.
Yeah.
A lot of really long shots. And I know Riley almost got up and walked away in one scene, but it was probably one of my favorite scenes. There's a scene when Nicolas Cage is in the bathroom after Mandy is killed, and he's basically freaking out, but they use like a really long lens on it. A really wide lens on it. So you see the entire bathroom, and it's got this like really like 80s wallpaper, and it's like super orange, and he's just like freaking out in the bathroom. And it felt like kind of classic Nicolas Cage, but then he almost like transitioned from like that yelling to like crying. And I thought it was an amazing scene, and all in one take. I thought it was fantastic. Even though there's I'm pretty sure a camera error in there where the camera like moves a little bit and like readjusts at one point. So, and maybe I'm just overanalyzing it, but I thought I saw that, and I can look past that because I love the scene so much.
Really quick side note, I think as our first guest, I think Amber is feeling the side effects of being in the AV Media recording booth. It is a little hot in here. It's a little bit uncomfortable. We're, crowded around a microphone. What are your thoughts? Tell us really quick so that we know how to improve in our next setup.
Oh, like in this setup?
Yeah.
You know what? This is also a very creative setup, I would say. I love this idea. This is great. I just think it needs to be a little bit bigger, especially with 4 of you. Like, you need to widen the chairs and have a bigger fort. Like, this is, I know we're all kids inside, but we're not, our size is not, we're not kids anymore. We need to grow, our house needs to grow a little bit.
You're really spitting truth here.
Yeah. Great feedback.
Hurting my feelings, but that's okay.
But I love this.
Excellent. We'll consider this
Maybe a fan too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A fan.
We've considered that, but the problem would be it'd be a lot of noise
into the microphone.
Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe,
that's
like,
true. I didn't think about that.
Water.
That's a great idea.
Drink some water.
Thank you for your notes, and we will consider that for the next guest.
Great.
You may leave now. No, I'm just kidding.
Before we get a little bit more deeper into the movie as well, Bramman, you specifically pointed out a scene literally moments after Mandy has been killed.
Yes.
Where Nicolas Cage breaks free and walks back into his house.
Looking very confused.
He's a little bit distraught. And then all of a sudden we hold on the VHS television where a commercial is playing. And Bramman kind of looked at him. He was like, hey, get ready. And that was like the face he had in his eyes. And we were presented with a commercial of macaroni and cheese. However, this commercial was very special because this introduced what was this? The cheese goblin?
The cheddar goblin.
The cheddar goblin. It was this puppet that was vomiting macaroni and cheese onto children. Live action, by the way. This was live action. And they kept saying, oh, that cheddar goblin. And they're like, oh, the cheddar goblin's the best, 60% more cheese. And the quote at the end was, it's goblin good. This is moments after a heartbreaking scene where Mandy has been burned alive and Nicolas Cage's character Red witnessed this. Oh. And we hold on a screen with a vomiting macaroni and cheese goblin for, I like to say, about a minute.
Yep. Honestly, it was a good break.
Yeah.
The best part of it at the end was when he pops out from this mountain. Oh, he's going up. It's so weird. But I actually loved it, and it was probably the best form of marketing I've seen for mac and cheese for a very long time.
I don't even think it's a real mac and cheese brand. No. If it was, I would buy that. 100%. I would buy cheddar, goblin cheddar.
This would terrify children. It would terrify me.
I was terrified by it.
But yeah, it was like the best way to be like, this ain't gonna be serious anymore.
This is a weird movie.
Yeah.
If you didn't realize up till now, this is a weird movie.
It's goblin good.
I just want to point out, the director of this movie has directed one other movie in 2010, Beyond the Black Rainbow, which has a 62% on Rotten Tomatoes and grossed $56,000 in the box office.
Holy shit.
This movie, Mandy, which was released in 2018, has a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes and had a budget of $6 million.
Dang. Mandy did?
Yeah.
That's a big
so
jump. How much did it make?
I'm not sure. This doesn't say on this front page here, but that's a big leap.
Holy.
And
that is $6 million is impressive.
That's the budget. That wasn't what it made.
No, I know.
Even still, like, for his second movie, that's insane. Like, that's crazy. And like, kudos to you, Panos. Like, fucking awesome job.
This like that sort of gives me hope as like an indie,
Yeah.
you know, just starting off filmmaker, where it's just like you never know what's going to happen. You never know what kind of opportunities you're going to get, and sometimes you'll get a big break like this.
And even just with like experimental filmmaking like this isn't a normal movie by any means, and it still like has really good reviews.
Well, you can really get away with it with a lot of horror films. Like, take for instance Evil Dead. I would say by no means that's a normal type of movie either. But then huge global success and pretty much a cult film now because everyone knows the director Sam Raimi.
It's true.
Yeah.
Everyone
I
knows
wanted
Sam
to
Raimi.
say for myself, my favorite part was the soundtrack.
Yeah.
All the
soundtrack was great.
music was so good, and it really carried the film, and it kind of had like almost like the, you know, the pre-Stranger Things vibe a little bit because it kind of has that sort of, not like a similar sound, but just like the way they use tones and sounds a little bit, and it got me really excited just about making films and being like, we know somebody could do this.
Yeah. Hey, we know who you are, right?
know who you
we
are.
see you, dude. It was very synthy.
I loved it.
Super
I loved
good.
it. The first track that was playing, I was just like, "Yep, I'm in."
Yeah.
I was lured in, 100%.
And in the opening credits, it even said, you know, a little thing with his name. And I was just like, oh, that's a very interesting dedication to the opening song and having the artist on there, because you usually wouldn't see that. And then I was just like watching this whole movie and I was like, all of this like work is so good and it sounds so cool. And I just felt like it really added to the movie because it would not have been the same, I think, without that music bit, especially the kind of psychedelic sort of feel.
It actually, I was looking at awards. It won a lot of awards for its soundtrack.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well deserved, I would say. And the sound design was phenomenal. It was really good.
Yeah. And I don't know if it was just me or if anyone else noticed this in the movie, but I think I mentioned it while we were talking about it because there was a very similar soundtrack, and then all of a sudden they get to the guy who's making LSD, and then he presses stop, and then the soundtrack completely stopped and then changed to a different...
Oh, like
yeah.
tone?
Music?
It was like a use of putting the soundtrack like in the world almost, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that was fun.
Super immersive.
Yeah.
That was another weird sequence.
And it was like, in all honesty, it was like 2 or 3 shots in that whole scene.
Yeah.
When the guy's making the LSD, it was like close-ups of both of them, and then like the shot of the tiger, and that was it.
That was...
Well, don't forget about the tiger shot at the end.
Oh, with the tiger roaring, probably the most metal shot in the whole
With
movie.
I couldn't believe it.
the freaking like
The planets
moon
in the
and
back-
planets in the background that's like faded. Yeah.
I have a question as someone who's not or hasn't been in film school. You keep talking about independent, like this movie is, you know, shows a lot of different like features of an independent movie. Can you tell me what that means? Like I don't like what's an example of another independent movie, or what is like I don't
indie?
fully understand. Is it just
Usually-
independently like music? It's the same sort of indie music, independently owned. Like how does it work in film?
Who wants to go first?
If I may,
Yeah.
the way I see the whole term is indie, I would say it's something different. It's something that's a little bit smaller. It's not very it's a very unconventional way of doing something.
Okay.
So that sort of movie, it felt like a more indie movie just because it did a lot of things that I wouldn't consider to be normal in regards to filmmaking. And it's the same thing with music, where usually when something's titled indie, it just means that it's really, really different. And I love that sort of stuff. I love it so much just because it's something new, it's something fresh, and you can take those sort of techniques and those methods that they use and incorporate into your own stuff, and then create something new from that. So it's just it's like a new ingredient to, like, you know, a food dish of some kind. That's the way that I see it. If you guys have different opinions,
It's kind of going off mainstream.
A lot of the techniques we would have learned in school, like watching that movie, would have been like considered not normal. Like for instance, the coloring is something that would have been strange, and the amount of grain in the film. Like, did you notice that kind of like there was almost like a filter over it where things kind of seemed not as refined when you look at the image?
It was very fuzzy.
Like fuzzy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like, but at the same time, it's a wonderful film because it is a creative industry. And you get caught sometimes in like what's right or wrong. But technically there's no right or wrong way to do anything movie wise. I mean, if you like it, if that's what you want to do, I mean, that's really all that matters. The only thing that becomes an issue is when money gets involved, and
Yeah.
that's a real big problem. But if money wasn't an option and things could just get made however they want, then technically there's no bounds for artistic
creativity.
expression. So
Do you think that they were taking a risk when they made this movie? Like with their with how creative they were? Like obviously not because they're so successful, but I'm just curious from like.
I'd say so. I think a lot of movies, they take a big risk. Like, especially being the director's second movie, and like his first one doesn't look like it was that great a success. I think it was a big risk, but in a way it's also just from my perspective, going into making a movie, it would be, I'm creating what I want to create, almost producers be damned in a way. Like, I would hate for a producer to be breathing down my neck saying, make this the way we want it to be made because this is how we think it'll make money, right? If I'm going into a movie going, I'm directing, I want to make my vision, not someone else's vision. It takes a lot of courage to kind of break free from that. And that's where I think a lot of indie films come from too, because it's just a form of creative expression.
It's a vision.
This is what I want to make, and this is what I've made, right?
And even though it's 6 million sounds like a lot of money, it's like nothing really for a movie.
No.
Like, that's not any budget really by any means compared to what we see on major blockbusters.
Billions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Practically.
$billion budgets. But
Yeah. And the cinematographer also did another Nicolas Cage movie, which I think we all want to see. The one, I can't remember, it's an A24 film that's coming out, or that is out now, where he's in everyone's dreams.
Dream Scenario?
Dream Scenario. The same
really?
cinematographer.
Oh, that seems so much of a
Fun.
departure
Yeah,
from...
such a different film, right?
I mean,
I want to see it, but
that must be a real interesting because you see probably the difference in the integration of a director,
possibly.
the artistic vision, because I don't see how that cinematographer is the same as that
No.
movie.
Well, we haven't seen the other movie, so
I haven't, no,
Sure.
but just like seeing what I just saw and then seeing that trailer, just I'm like shocked. By
I just imagine the director being like, you know, they put the red lights on, and he's like, more red. Sir, this is all the red lights we have. More red. They're like, no.
It was, so fun. It was an enjoyable movie, no matter how strange it got. Like the cultist bikers, and just like how strange, like, was it Jeremiah or was it? Yeah.
Also, where the frick was Elijah Wood?
He was a producer.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
he was in it. I was like looking for him the entire time. And
He's one of the biker men.
I was waiting
Yeah,
for him to
probably.
hop out. Yeah.
No, he was he was just he was a producer on it.
Oh wow.
Which is pretty cool. I haven't seen that name a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, can we just talk about the chainsaw battle? Like,
Oh my God.
I've thought about it a lot, and like, this is the first time I've ever seen a chainsaw duel. Like,
Yeah.
The way it was presented,
so metal. Yeah.
I knew it was gonna happen.
Yeah.
When he found the chainsaw, I'm like, okay, this movie, the second half, it's going crazy heavy metal. It's going very hard. I feel like there's gonna be like a chainsaw duel, but no, they did one better. The other guy grabbed the chainsaw, and as he was dragging it, mine's bigger than yours, and I'm just like, yes. Oh,
It was really well
fantastic.
choreographed too.
It was.
Like, it was a really fun fight. It wasn't like normal Hollywood where they're like cut. It was like longer shots. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
And even the butthead character, when he was washing his car, there was a moment where we get focus on like the hood of the car, and we're like, all right, Riley and I kind of like had the same thought. All right, Nicolas Cage is going to come up behind him. He's going to be seeing the reflection and he's going to kill him. Nah, JK, cut to flying, spinning axe, and then cutting to him getting it right in the head. That was a pleasant surprise. It was very unexpected. There's a lot of unexpected things in this movie.
Right?
Yeah. I don't think you could, I mean, like, yeah, a part of my heart was like, maybe Mandy's still there. You know, like,
I thought the same thing.
I was holding on to that a little bit, but I mean, I guess she's somewhere else or in his memories or in his crazy psycho car moment.
Dude, that scene, that shot was so good. Like, ultra wide shot in a car looking at Nicolas Cage covered in blood, just giving a maniacal grin. Oh my, like the whole movie in my mind was worth it for that shot.
I knew it too. When I saw this, I was like, you know, it doesn't matter how the rest of the movie was. Bramwood would make us watch this just to see this one moment.
We go through like an hour and 25 minutes of this film just to catch the last 5 minutes of that shot.
Dude, so good.
Nicolas Cage is now in LSD world.
Yeah.
And that's the only time you can see Mandy. So
so I guess he's just, that's where he's going to be forever.
I mean, I did think that Mandy might be like once Nicolas Cage got to Jupiter, I thought that they would be reunited.
Yeah,
Which
that would have been nice.
Kind of was.
In a weird
way, in a spiritual way that they were, but I did think that maybe she would be there through some sort of transcendence through the spiritual.
Like a bit of context, the end of the movie, they're just like he's just like on Jupiter for some reason. Like he kills everyone and he's driving away and the camera pans up and he's like on Jupiter. Yeah. That was it. So how we got there? I don't know. Was he actually there? I don't know. Was Mandy there? I don't know.
Well, I think he probably took the same sort of drugs as the other people, like the other bikers did.
That's when he like put his finger in the jar.
To the whatever.
Lost the drug
base
world.
melting LSD.
Is that's what that was? Was the LSD? Okay.
Yeah.
At first, I thought it was blood that they were drinking. You know, when they
I think they were drinking blood.
No, it was LSD.
They were giving them stuff.
The jar was that like, is that how? I don't even know like the form of people take LSD in. Like, is it a liquid? I don't know. But this one was. It was some kind of crazy drug that the chemist was making.
Tabs you put on your tongue, but who knows? Maybe that guy is just whipping up some strange jelly batch LSD to put on your toast in the morning. I don't know.
It seemed like something that was like, you know, spreadable, you know.
Maybe that's how they eat it. The crazy biker demon
some
people.
Raspberries in there, a little bit of raspberry LSD jam.
Yeah, of course.
But
there were a lot of great silhouette shots in this movie too. Just like a lot of like just blast that light behind them. We know who that is. Very, very cool. And a lot of strobe lights as well.
Yeah.
With the like home invasion scene, that was really cool too.
And then Porky getting dragged away into hell.
That was so funny. Just like with a random cut. Oh, so funny.
What was I gonna say? Well, when you had your phone up there, you were looking at the stats for stuff, and you said there was 91%. I also noticed there was a 6.1
on IMDb.
So it seems very split on this movie, which is very interesting. Where, you know, from a critic's standpoint, it's, I guess, very unique and memorable in a way. I mean, we will all probably remember bits of this film one way or another. But then as a critic's standpoint, people are like almost, I mean, just over half liked it, but then, you know, 39% were like, yeah, no, not for me.
So on Rotten Tomatoes, it's got a 91% by critics and a 67% by audience.
So it's quite a big difference.
Critics really like it, but the audience apparently didn't.
The way I see this is the type of movie that is meant for a specific group of people.
Oh, 100%.
There are some movies that are out there that are meant to, you know, please everybody. But here's the thing. My parents listen once in a while to these podcasts, and they're interested in the movies that we watch. If they're about 20 minutes into this movie, they're going to turn it off, and I know this.
Yeah.
So, however, being in the film industry and liking new and, you know, creative things, I'm going to watch the whole thing through, even if I dislike it in the beginning, because it's something different. And if you're a metalhead or you love this sort of imagery, Ryan, you're going to love this movie, and you're going to take this with you, and you're going to just think about this thing all the time because it's your movie. So
I'd be shocked if he hasn't seen this. I'm just gonna say that right now.
no, he has. It's probably one of his favorite movies.
Brian, if you're listening, bro, tell us your thoughts.
Yeah, please. We'll have you on the show, man. Yeah, it's this was a very, very fun movie because it was so new, because it was so different.
Was it did it hold up to a movie that would be fun to talk about?
Yeah. Like I said, it did a lot of fresh things, and it did a lot of things that I think about in my head that I'm like, I haven't seen that before. I want to do it myself. And they're like, this guy did it. Bright lights, trippy moments, morphing faces into other faces seamlessly.
Cool.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Well, like that was really, really impressive.
That made me feel like that was a very druggy moment for sure. When you were like watching it and then seeing her face kind of like morph into his, and then the mouth wasn't moving, but the eyes still looked the same.
It was seamless.
It was, yeah.
It almost seemed like what she was experiencing with someone who was, drugged.
Almost like he was trying to meld them together, right? Like with his like cultish leadership, he was trying to like bring her in and make her fold her in, so they were like morphing together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a cool spot.
A lot of like, I think there's a lot of symbolism, but it's like,
I'd say so.
yeah,
It was hard to like fully grasp
Yeah.
it though, just because it's just like on first viewing, you're like, what the frick is going on?
even on second viewing, same thing.
I'm sure you're not gonna like understand it until like the fifth.
Oh yeah.
So then you've seen everything that you need to see, so then you can start thinking a little bit more.
There isn't also a lot of dialogue either.
Not a ton.
And the dialogue that is given is like given through like kind of almost like single sentences, except for the cult leader. But like the LSD guy was like children, and I was like, what is this all mean?
He was like a prophet. He like knew things.
The tiger, that's Lily the tiger.
I see now. Releases her.
Yeah.
What?
He didn't say anything.
Yeah. Nicolas Cage does not say anything yet. Once again, like the pig movie, he kept pretty quiet.
Yeah.
Until the end. So
Brahman's second movie choice also has Nicolas Cage in it.
I
Is
see
this
a
going to
theme.
be a theme? Yeah, is this going to be a theme?
No. Next time I'll take a break from Nicolas Cage, maybe.
Maybe
No
we'll just have to
guarantees.
see.
you will do Francis Coppola, which we found out is his uncle.
Oh yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
Trivia. We did a trivia. Found out that the director Francis Coppola is his uncle. So
Unique.
yeah.
There's shots in this movie that I want to replicate.
Oh, 100%.
Like, and I thought it was so fun.
Yeah.
Super, super neat. I enjoyed this movie a lot for many, many reasons. But I mean, the biggest takeaway from it for me is just like, do whatever you want. If you have the equipment, if you have the resources, just make things just to make things, and someone is going to love it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Like, if you love it, that's good enough. But if someone else can, then I mean, you could make it big. So
I mean, yeah. Take now the DP is doing this huge A24 film with Nicolas Cage yet again, but
interesting.
it's pretty cool to see the growth in all of it. So I mean, make freaky films, I guess, and see where they go.
So I think that should
And
bring
then
us.
we will message Nicolas Cage as well.
Dude, I've said it before. It'd be
He would
sweet.
be down, I think, at this point.
like the
now.
movies Nicolas Cage does, like, give him some money and he'll do it.
Yeah, $6 million budget, guys. That's all we need.
That's all we need to get Nicolas Cage on board. And it's
Easy,
just
right?
batshit crazy script.
Yeah, batshit crazy. For
We'll
sure.
get there one day.
Yeah. So I think this is the part of the episode where we all give it a rating out of 10,
Okay.
Amber. So I guess I'll go first. Honestly, it probably might be my highest rating of any movie we've watched, which is insane. I'll give it... Oh, man. I think I'll give it 9 crazy LSD trips out of 10, dude.
Cool.
Yeah.
Riley?
I probably won't rate it as high, but I probably will give it like I want to say 7, but probably 6.5
Ooh.
liquid LSD jelly jars out of 10.
I think that's your lowest rating so far on a movie.
It is, yeah.
Really?
It was just
How
a little
come?
Too crazy?
It was just a little too like gross for me, honestly.
Okay. Yeah,
That's
I see that.
understandable.
I see
Like
that.
there was moments that were just like a little too like hard,
Yeah.
like or unnecessary. I felt like
Well,
maybe like I just didn't need to go. But I mean, like for a certain type of viewer that's into that sort of stuff, it just felt like
we were talking about this during the movie, but usually movies will be like, oh, here's gross thing happening, but we'll cut away and show other people's reactions. But this movie was like, we'll cut away, show other people's reactions, and then cut back to see how it's going. It's like, okay, the sword is still in his mouth.
and
Okay,
then we'll go even further.
Yeah.
So it definitely pushed the uncomfortableness a lot. And honestly, I kind of was just rooting for Mandy to still be in it, you know? Part of me was just sad that they just took her out like that, but 'tis life, I guess. But
getting burned alive.
yeah. So
I enjoyed this movie quite a lot. It did a lot of things that I loved, but there were also some moments that I guess I didn't really mesh with. However, I am definitely going to give it a higher rating. I would say this is 8.5 bad sex cultist albums out of 10.
He did make some pretty good music.
It was awful.
That's why he became a sex cult leader.
Yeah.
Because nobody liked his music.
Yep.
Amber, what would you give this film?
Amber's thinking.
Yeah, this is the thing is like I love mindfuck movies. Movies that just surprise me and they're not predictable and I don't know what's going to happen next. And that's what this movie did, and it was also a movie that I would have never been introduced to it other than with you guys probably.
You'd be throwing through it on like some sort of streaming service and be like, no.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. 100%. So I would say in between 7.5 and 8. And I would watch it again just because I would want to know. Like, I don't know, you learn so much more the more times that you watch it. And it's one of those that I could watch again.
High rewatchability for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like I would watch it too, and I think maybe it would settle a bit more on me, but maybe I'm like kind of coming off watching this movie and I'm like still just kind of in shock, you know, like
Something I just sorry, continue your thought. Finish your thought.
no, that was pretty much it. So
Something I just thought of that I realized that I think was really cool was the cult leader's like bipolarness and how well it was done. Whereas like
that's right.
he had his moments of like self-doubt, and then you'd like look in the mirror and like you could just see the shift in him that was like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Never doubt yourself. And it was just like you saw that like 180, and it was like he was two different people, right? And he just like he had the cult to like pad out that like those like insecurities.
Yeah.
And then at the end too, we saw it where it was like he's like, oh, I can still save you, and Nicolas Cage is about to kill him. He's like, I can still save you, and then we see that shift to like, man, I'll suck your dick to survive, and then he's like, never mind, I'll never kneel for you. And it was just like you saw that like shift back and forth, and it was like you could see it in his face too.
Like
I thought that was really cool.
Borderline personality disorder. I noticed that too. I was like, is he schizophrenic? Like it did a really good job with showing like the mental illness, and especially in like, you know, reality with cult leaders. Like what's that guy's name? Not Marilyn Manson, but Charlie Manson. I don't know.
Charles Manson.
Yeah, Charles Manson, who's like a lot of cult leaders who are known in reality. They have and struggle with mental health illnesses, and it just showed like a really realistic.
Yeah, and it was like as soon as he started losing control, it was like he like needed to get control back, and his only way to do that was just by talking. And when he was talking to Nicolas Cage, who wasn't listening, it was like you're done. But like your only defense is you're talking, and your muscles all gone. So I just thought that was really interesting and a really cool. I thought that was a really good performance. I think that was my favorite performance, was the cult leader.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I guess on Amber's rating, 7.5 out of 8. It's pretty good.
That was pretty good. Yeah.
Dang.
So one of the highest ratings on this movie and one of the lowest.
Yeah. Interesting.
That's a
Very
good
split.
way to describe Mandy.
Yeah.
A lot of highs and a lot of lows.
But anyway, go out and watch it. And always remember, God is in this room, man.
I love that. So many memorable things from that movie.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Lots of good quotes.
Yeah.
All right, is that it? We're good?
That's it.
Yeah.
Holy smoke, it is hot
hot.
in here.
I
It's
know,
so
I'm
hot in here.
sweating.
Have a good night, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
See you next time.